Welcome to The Hypnotist, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. Brought to you by the hypnotherapist demanded by celebrities, CEOs, and even royalty, Adam Cox. These recordings took place live from Adam's clinic in London's world-famous Harley Street. This podcast features powerful hypnosis, so do not listen while driving or operating machinery. This recording is not suitable for those with epilepsy or severe mental health issues. So, get yourself comfortable and enjoy today's episode of The Hypnotist.
Hi, it's Adam here, and in today's episode of The Hypnotist, it's literally the very first thing I'm doing today. It's just before 8 a.m. I've just arrived into my office, and because I didn't do a recording yesterday, I wanted to make sure that I have one done today. So I'm going to do one of my randomly generated hypnosis sessions based on a destination, 2 emotions, and 3 nouns. Just to kind of get my head in the game. I've got a couple of hypnosis clients later on today, so this is kind of like a bit of a warm-up, but equally, hopefully this hypnosis session is going to be beneficial or impactful in some way. So I'm going to start sharing my screen for those people on YouTube. The random destination is in a place called Changhua County in Taiwan. Let's see. Doesn't have too much about it. It's it just says that it's in the west central region of Taiwan. If I click, okay, so it's famous for the Longshan Temple. The Longshan Temple has a long history, large scale, exquisite carvings. A very simple but elegant temple. So it's likely that we're going to base it around. I'm looking at a picture of the Longshan Temple. Very traditional. And there is another temple in the same area called the Lugang Mazu Temple. That's a more famous temple. So it's going to be based, I think, around one of those temples in Taiwan. The 2 random emotions are interest and happiness. Happiness we've touched on a couple of times in the random hypnosis sessions. Interest I don't think we have yet, but I like it because at some level, if you take an interest in something, then that creates natural resources linked to the area of interest. So I think that's going to be quite interesting. And then the 3 random nouns. That's coincidental. So we've got the first one, intensify, the second, blank, and the third, candidate. So intensifying, obviously, if we look at emotions as I do, as more like a dimmer switch rather than an on-off switch, then intensify is kind of increasing the brightness of whatever that emotion is. Blank, when I think of that, I think of a blank canvas or a wiping the slate clean, starting afresh. So again, we might be able to use that element into the hypnosis session. And the final one is candidate. And there's a couple of things coming to mind here. One is a suitable, let's say, person for a role. And if you think of parts therapy, you could think of who is the ideal part within your subconscious that's the ideal candidate to do a particular role. Quite often, we just have these kind of almost accidental parts in different roles rather than the right candidate for the right role. The other thing that's coming to mind here is the movie The Manchurian Candidate, where effectively it's this element of almost like a hypnotized candidate that is there under the guise of feeling like they know their identity, but then when the right triggers come in, they kind of, all of this programming kicks in. So it could go either way in terms of the hypnosis session. And when I say could go either way, I tend to do the hypnosis very intuitively and organically. So there is very little conscious decisions that I'm making in the hypnosis. I kind of go with the flow and then see where it takes me. So these are the destinations. So we've got Taiwan, we've got interest and happiness as the emotions, and then intensify, blank, and candidate as the nouns. And let's see, and I've got my 15-minute hourglass here as well. So we're going to use this as part of the session just to focus my attention on kind of doing the hypnosis, but within a particular time frame. So if you are listening to this for the benefit of the hypnosis, I would say find a quiet place where you won't be disturbed, relax and enjoy the session. Take a deep breath in, and as you breathe in, imagine breathing in a feeling of calm and relaxation. And as you exhale, just allow feelings of tension to leave your body. Continue to breathe in and breathe out, and if it's safe to do so, allow your eyelids to close as you find it's then easier to pay attention to my words and bring your attention inwards to your own imagination. That's right. Continue to breathe in and breathe out. And as you do so, notice that within each outward breath, you're able to go deeper and deeper, relaxed. So relaxed, in fact, that your physical body is allowed to just unwind. Maybe you feel your arms or legs getting heavier, getting an overall sense of sleepiness. I don't know if you're standing or sitting or lying, but if you're sitting or lying, just allow your limbs to feel heavier. Feel the increased pressure perhaps on the chair or the bed. Notice becomes easier and easier to not worry about what your body is doing as you become increasingly aware that your imagination can take you on a journey. And I wonder what it would be like to perhaps to go to somewhere that maybe you've not been in reality, but you could go in your imagination. And you already know that your imagination doesn't have to be reality. It's your representation of what you think that reality may be like. There are many places in the world. But if I was to say Taiwan, you might think of perhaps an island just off the coast of China. And maybe you've heard things about Taiwan, and maybe you haven't. Maybe you've never heard of the island at all. But I wonder what it would be like to travel back in time, going to the island of Taiwan, and perhaps imagining those historic temples. Perhaps you've seen them in movies or documentaries where they have the ornate roofs, wooden beams, quite often tiled floors, lots of fresh air enabling it to access the temple. And maybe you can see little statues of dragons or other animals nearby. You get a sense that this is the kind of place where people go to meditate, to learn, to think. And that's exactly what you're here to do. I want you to imagine going into this temple, but this isn't one of those luxurious temples with gold and impressive arches. This is a more basic temple. a long, long history. I want you to get a sense. Get a sense that here in this place is just a time for reflection. You're in a building that's hundreds of years old, except you are in the building when this building was relatively new. You're back in time. There is no devices, no technology, just you, your time, and this temple. And I want you to make yourself comfortable in this temple, in a quiet room where no one else exists. And imagine that you start to meditate. Whatever meditation means to you is exactly how you should think of that meditation. And I want you to get a sense that sometimes being at peace with yourself is the best form of happiness. Nothing to think of, nothing to worry about. The word happiness has been distorted over time, mainly for commercial gain. We think we have to acquire things to be happy, or do things to be happy. But isn't it the case that happiness could be just the absence of pain or misery? And here you are in this ancient temple, focusing perhaps on just being you in this place with your own thoughts, your own time. You get a sense that the happiness is there, not because you're making it, but because it just is. I want you to get a sense there in that happy state that you have the ability time and time again to start afresh. You can think of your life as a book with many chapters, and hasn't it always been the case that every now and then you just get to start afresh? Every day is a new page, and every significant event perhaps is the start of a new chapter in your life. And throughout your life there's been different things that have taken an interest to you. Hobbies, careers, people. And wasn't it always the case that when you had a genuine interest in something, the work became effortless? It became a joy to learn new things. And I wonder when the next page will turn for you, when the next new chapter will start. I wonder when something new will pique your interest. And as it does so, all of those resources like effort become effortless. Dedication becomes natural. So much of what people assume to be a struggle, when you have a real interest in something, that's rarely the case. The resources simply flow. And maybe there's something you're interested in right now, or maybe there isn't. But perhaps over the next days, weeks and months, something will capture your imagination. You'll take an interest in something and then you'll just find yourself investing more effort, thoughts, time in that thing. Not because you have to, but because you want to. And in doing so, you'll get a sense that the results and the benefits come thick and fast. And sometimes you get this law of reversed effect. Sometimes when you try and get interested in something, you become more apathetic. But when the interest is naturally there, all those feelings around it intensify. new information becomes even more interesting. Lessons that you learn become all the more intuitive and natural. The happiness, the highs become even more happy, and any setbacks or lows become all the more brutal. But isn't that how you learn faster? I want you to imagine that whether it's something you're already interested in or the very next thing that you'll take an interest in, I want you to imagine that all of your emotions will intensify. You will start from a blank slate, and from that point onwards, you'll notice and be aware of all of the nuanced emotions that could be like the colours that are possible to an artist. The average person assumes that there is just maybe 50 or 100 colours. The reality is that there are thousands upon thousands of different shades, varieties of colours. And what if that was also true of emotions? That it isn't just the case that you're happy or sad, interested or disinterested. As your emotions intensify, starting from that blank slate, you get a new appreciation of the infinite palette of emotions available to you, and that certain emotional states are better suited to different situations. Although many people would agree that motivation and passion is a useful resource or emotion, do you really want to feel motivated when enjoying a sunset? Do you really want to feel passionate in the very moment that you're trying to learn some kind of important lesson in your own life? From this point onwards, I want you to imagine that every emotion is the ideal candidate depending on the circumstances and situation and context of your life. Even anger or rage would be the ideal candidate if someone was trying to do harm to you or someone you love. And happiness maybe is the ideal candidate to start from. Being grateful for what you have and just happy that life is giving you what it's giving you. Imagine that is the default setting. And from that blank slate, you can notice different intensities of different emotions that could be relevant or not relevant to any context that you're in. And allow your unconscious mind to start to decide which emotion is the ideal candidate for which circumstance, and allow them to effortlessly, fluidly transition from one emotion to the next emotion depending on which one is most suitable for the circumstances that you're in. And you won't be able to stop yourself noticing that as you do so, you have so much more choice than you believe you do. What if you could just generate the state of enthusiasm when you want to take an interest in something? What if what was before was boring is now interesting? Before, what made you annoyed or frustrated makes you inquisitive or curious. As your unconscious mind presents the ideal candidates for the right context, allow your experience of life to intensify. And in doing so, notice that your life just gets better and better and better. As you become aware that you've been in this temple for perhaps hours, or perhaps just a few minutes. And here in this place, it's time to leave the temple, but you get a sense of real intuitive learning, that you leave the temple different from the version of you that entered, that perhaps right now is a blank slate, a new page is turning, a new chapter is starting, and that your life is about to get much more interesting as you realize all of this is just a thought within a thought, a dream within a dream, an idea within an idea. And actually, you're not in a temple in Taiwan. You're in the present, listening to my voice right now. And very soon, I will count from 1 to 10 to awaken you, and you will awaken feeling very resourceful, operating from a blank slate, allowing your unconscious to choose the ideal emotional candidates depending on where you are and what you're doing. Take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose. That's right. And wiggle those fingers, wiggle those toes. Get a sense that you're in your own physical body right now. That's right. Starting to count to awaken you. 1, 2, 3, waking up. 4, 5, 6, more alert. 7, 8, open your eyes, open your eyes. 9, 10, wide awake, wide awake, wide awake.
Thank you for listening to The Hypnotist with Adam Cox, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. To automatically receive the latest episodes, please subscribe. If you'd like to support the show, please share this episode with just one friend you think it could help. And if this episode helped you, please leave us a 5-star review.
Okay, so I've just stopped the recording for the podcast. For the people who continue to watch on YouTube, really appreciate your time and support. Hopefully you found that interesting. I found it quite illuminating, actually, how just these kind of random words like intensify and blank and candidate was, fairly able, naturally able to be kind of fused into that hypnosis session. Hopefully you found that useful. If you did, drop me a comment, let me know why. If you liked it, please like and subscribe if you haven't already. And if you have any feedback, any suggestions for future topics, themes, or perhaps other variables that I can randomly generate to start a hypnosis session, let me know in the comments. Thank you again, and take care.